It was a lengthy gospel today, and I can tell you, as I was preparing for the homily, I was going through it over and over and over again, and I thought, it's the very first lines that capture me. Here are the first lines of the gospel. Jesus says that this wealthy man has heard rumors that his steward is dishonest. It doesn't say the man has a dishonest steward. All it says is he's heard he's dishonest. And all of a sudden he gets back to the steward and he says, I'm going to get fired. I'm going to get fired. I think the message in the gospel is simply this. It's a very simple message. The story we tell about ourselves and the story we tell about others matters. When this steward hears that his master thinks he's dishonest, he becomes dishonest. When he hears his master thinks he's dishonest, he says, I got to save myself. I'm going to go and make these deals. Then something else happens. The steward, he sees these people who are in debt, and he says, I'm not going to see them as people in debt anymore. I'm going to see them as my saviors. Because who actually saves them? It's the people in debt. They say to the master, don't get rid of this guy, we love him. The story we tell about ourselves, the story we tell about others, it matters. It matters. I had this experience. I teach at St. Francis. I have this class in leadership for sophomores. And on the second day of class, they have to get up and talk about themselves for 5 minutes. Yeah, it's a long time. 5 minutes, unprepared. And I can tell you, most of them come up, and I can repeat the football record they have from 5th grade through 8th grade because they're trying to fill the time. Pets, I know all those. But this one student gets up this past year, and he starts like everybody else. He starts by saying, I'm a middle child. I have 2 older brothers, 1 younger brother, and a baby sister. But then he says this, my baby sister has Down syndrome. And when I tell people that, they don't know what to say. But I'm going to tell you this, she is the love of my life. It might sound weird for me to say that about my sister, but it's true. She teaches me to love every day. Can you imagine that? That's what he said to his sophomore peers. This is the love of my life. I heard that from him, and I started to think about the love of my life. I can tell you that when God stands up and has to give 5 minutes on who God is, God looks at you and says, you are the love of my life. The story we tell about ourselves matters. We're the love of God's life. But the thing about what that student said that's really stuck with me is not with myself, but with others. You know, I live with Father Jeff Rose. He's not always the easiest to live with. But when we encounter those people we struggle with, when we get frustrated or anxious or impatient, I repeat those words that student has said. And I look at that person and I think, oh my gosh, God is looking at that person. That person is the love of God's life. And it changes the very way I treat them and think about them. The story we tell about ourselves and others matters. When God thinks of you, when God thinks of the person next to you, you're the love of God's life. May God be praised.